So I recently finished a course of about 10 weeks of CBT therapy, focusing on body image and food issues, and I found it so insightful and so helpful. Obviously therapy is not super accessible to everyone, so I thought it might be helpful for me to share some of the things that I learned with you guys. And I also have just been finding that I've been having conversations around this with my friends a lot lately, so I thought it might be nice to bring that conversation onto my YouTube channel as well and see what you guys think. As always, my comments are open for discussion. I did CBT therapy specifically. It's a very practical way of dealing with mental health issues. It's very structured in that it identifies thought and behavioral patterns and then takes hands-on practical approaches on how to modify those to improve them. This type of therapy is really useful for people with OCD like myself, or have OCD tendencies, because it's quite, what's the word? It's almost quite regimented, it's quite like structured, and I think, for example, my brain responds really well to that. Like talking therapy can be useful for, like, for me personally, life events and like things like that. But in terms of like changing my actual thought patterns, I find more practical measures way more helpful. So yeah, just a warning that in this video I'm going to be talking about body image, weight, food, all those sorts of things. So if you're not in a place where you want to be hearing about that, then this is your time to tap out. And I also want to acknowledge that, like, I completely understand that my body conforms to the societal ideal, and this isn't just a video about me complaining about my body at all. I mainly want to focus on like what I learn in a more generalized way, and yeah, hopefully it's helpful to other people. In a way, I think it's comforting to know that like body and food issues can kind of touch anyone, like, and what I've learned when I've reflected back on my life and my journey with this is that I like had this when I was thinner, I've had this when I've gained weight. It's almost completely unrelated to my actual weight or body shape. It's more just what's going on in my head, which is frustrating because it, in a way, it shows that it's not as simple as being fixed by like changing the way that I look, but it also is comforting. And I think it's comforting to know that other people feel that way, that other people have these issues as well. It just means it's like primarily a mental health issue, and that's how I've tackled it with this therapy. So moving on to the useful / interesting stuff. Honestly, the thing that has changed everything for me was removing mirrors from my bedroom. So at the beginning of the therapy, we identified like all my behavioral patterns, all my thought patterns, and like the things that we could work on straight away was the behavioral patterns, things like checking how you look in the mirror all the time. And my therapist was like, what if you just like got rid of your full-length mirror in your bedroom? And I was like, oh my god, yeah. It was kind of intimidating. I don't know why, but it does just feel like quite a big thing to just be like, I'm not gonna have a full-length mirror. But I actually don't have a full-length mirror now, and it has changed everything for me. I think like in this current society that we live in, we're all quite obsessed with our image. I think it's not any of our faults. It's just the way that things are, but it is nice to just tap out of that. And on reflection, the times when I've not known how I've looked, I've been the most relaxed and able to enjoy myself. For example, if I'm like in the club and I like haven't looked at myself in the mirror for like hours, and I think I look great and I'm having a great time, I am just like completely happy and in like a state of bliss. And then, you know, at the end of the night when you're like brushing your teeth and taking off your makeup and you're like, ooh, like I look not my best, and that kind of can bring it crashing down. And that kind of made me realize that what if I just didn't look at myself in the mirror that much, I'd probably just be way happier and be unaware of how I look or how other people are perceiving me. And that's quite nice. It's quite, it feels almost radical, even though it's quite a simple action. So I'd really recommend trying it, because it just means you can exist in a state of like unawareness of your physical appearance, and that's really nice. Like, for example, getting ready in the morning, I just trust that an outfit looks good, and if it doesn't, I don't even know that it doesn't, so it's fine. So yeah, that I would identify things that you might find yourself doing often that feed into it. For example, if you have an obsession with like how you look or something like that, and see if you can change anything. And for me, removing a mirror from my bedroom has changed everything, and since stopping therapy, I've carried on with it, and I will carry on with it for as long as I want to. The next thing is just a quick one about like any tricks, fads, diets, new hacks, anything like that. There is no quick fix to being healthy or trying to lose weight. So I just would simply never diet now. I have tried intermittent fasting in the past and realized that although there are health benefits, I'm sure it just seems like another diet, another thing to get obsessed about and think about all the time. I actually intuitively do eat a late breakfast and I prefer to eat an early dinner, but I don't find it helpful to be like, I am going to do intermittent fasting every day. It's just another way for my brain to like ruminate on a new thing. And same goes for intuitive eating. I've tried that before, and it's just like, in theory it's a great idea, but there's so much stimulation around us, so much messaging, there's food everywhere, there's choice everywhere. I just feel like being completely 100% intuitive, of only eating what you really feel like you want in that moment, is almost impossible. So yeah, anything that feels like a new amazing trick to like being slim just probably won't work. And in terms of diets, anytime you diet, you mess with your metabolism long term, and it just makes it harder for you to like maintain a healthy weight or maintain your natural weight anyway. So I would just try and put all of that in a box, put it aside. If you see anything online about things like that, just try and ignore it, because it's just not going to help you in the long term. Which brings me on to my thoughts on just tried and tested government or science-backed guidelines that are super logical, make complete sense. It's nothing groundbreaking, but actually work, which is that if you work out regularly and you put good food in your body, that is the weight that you're supposed to be at. Now, obviously, that isn't true if you've got certain medical conditions like PCOS or thyroid issues, then that just doesn't apply, and that is really, really frustrating. But for the majority of people, that is just the case. There's something called a set point theory, and this applies to weight, which is that you have your natural weight range, you have your middle point, and you have your natural weight when you gain a bit of weight or when you lose a bit of weight, and that is the range that you pretty much will exist in. And it's quite hard for you to actually go well over that or well under that. So everyone's got their natural range of their weight, and it will fluctuate within that because of like your period cycle or like life events, or for me, seasons. Like I always gain a bit of weight in the winter because I like want more like hearty, carby foods, and then in the summer I just don't crave those things anymore. Like that's all completely normal. And if you're like worried about gaining loads of weight, or if you're trying to lose loads of weight, you'll realize like it's actually quite hard to go outside of that set point, that range. General like science-backed guidance is that you should do 3 30-minute cardio sessions a week and 3 30-minute weight training sessions a week. Now, not everyone is going to be able to do that, and not everyone's got time to do that. And you can obviously combine, you can do like 30-minute weights, 30-minute cardio within one session. But that does, like when I hear that, I'm like, yeah, that does make sense. I do a range of exercise. I do work out quite a lot because it makes me feel good. It's a nice break from work, and I like to be strong and fit. Everyone's different on that, but generally, if you are doing something similar to that and you're eating a really healthy diet, which includes lots of fiber, lots of protein, lots of fruit and vegetables, it's balanced, it's mixed, and obviously there's some sweet stuff in there and like heavier meals in there too, then that technically should be your set point, your weight range. And yeah, that's kind of reassuring to know. That's just the size that you're naturally supposed to be, and you shouldn't like try and fight it too much. Now, obviously we don't exist in a vacuum, and we're constantly receiving messaging that we should be trying to fight that, and we need to be trying these things and those things. But yeah, I do just find that reassuring to know. Then aside from those, the thing that I found the most useful is to set a list of preferences. So for me, if I make rules around food, I just get really obsessed with it, about whether I've achieved it or not. It makes me feel stressed. I just have a very overactive brain, so that just doesn't end well for me. But if I lay down a list of preferences of how I want my eating and exercise to be, then that is so helpful to me. And the reason it's helpful to me is that it understands that there is some leeway, some room for flexibility. If you have hard and fast rules, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure, because inevitably things come up like I don't know, a birthday, or you're on holiday and you want more ice cream, or whatever, things come up and it's impossible to just stick to really rigid rules. But if you have preferences of what sorts of foods you want to eat and when you want to eat them and how much you like to work out and what feels good for your body, that's really, really useful. They give structure for how you intend to treat your body. It sets intention for your long-term lifestyle, and it makes you think about, how I want to be treating my body going forward until I'm old, basically, rather than I'm gonna do like this diet for like 6 months or whatever. I haven't done a proper diet in like many years, and honestly it's so liberating to not be conforming to a set of rules that is not tailored to your body and your needs at all. Preferences are completely tailored to you, so you can just sit down with yourself and have a proper think completely objectively about what you want to put in your body and how you want to treat your body, and then just try and stick to it, but completely understand that things get in the way and it's not always going to be like that, and that's completely okay. When you think completely objectively about how you want to treat your body, good things to think about are like meal times, snacking, how many sweet treats do you like. Then finally, another thing that I think is really helpful to think about is the way in which we look at other people. I've noticed that online there's a lot of conversation about how other people's bodies have changed, like that girl's gotten so thin or things like that, and I just think that just feeds into that little bit in our brain that's like obsessing over body image and ultimately like comparing ourselves with others as well. And one of the things I literally only recently realized in therapy, I think it's quite easy to become envious of people who have like suddenly lost weight, because it's like that's what society has told us is like the ultimate thing. And like with Ozempic as well and stuff, it's like that's almost like a cheat code to what everything has been telling us for years is like the ultimate goal, which is to lose weight drastically. And like in thinking about that and talking about that, I've realized that's like a generic societal goal that I actually really don't align with. Like I don't want to suddenly become like really thin to the point that people are worried about me. And I kind of realized that most people who have like lost a lot of weight and are underweight now, like that will be because they've got some like mental or physical things going on in their lives, not because they're completely at peace with themselves and they're completely happy. Now that's obviously not the case for everyone, and literally everybody is different, so it's not even worth like analyzing why people have lost weight. It's just good to note that if you're experiencing envy towards people who are going through that, just realize like it's probably not because they're really happy. And I think that's kind of reassuring to know, because ultimately, like for me, my personal goal is like happiness and like being at peace with myself, not being like super thin. And I think when you realize that, it kind of shifts your priorities a bit and shifts how you treat yourself, your brain and your body. So yeah, those are the main things that I learned from this period of therapy that I've just been through. I feel like the main conclusion for me is just that I really prioritize my health and wellness. It's really important to me, and part of that is also prioritizing my mental health and not being hard on my brain. And there are days when I find myself in really negative loops about these things, and I'm nice to myself on those days as well, and I tell myself that it's completely understandable that I feel this way, like as a woman, as someone sort of in the public, as someone who shares my physical appearance online a lot. Like it's completely normal to feel pressure and to feel all sorts of mixed feelings about that, and to be kind to myself in those moments is really important, but also to stick to my practical guidelines, my practical preferences, as well as understanding the wider context of why I feel like this is really helpful to me. Hopefully it's been helpful to you too. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And yeah, I hope that you're all doing really well, having a great year so far. I hope that you're all doing really well and also enjoying my YouTube videos. And if you have any ideas for other videos you want me to do, just let me know. I'm enjoying the chatty ones as well. I did one about how I don't drink anymore. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.